Okay, good evening again. My name is Karen Boroff, and I'm honored to be Dean of the Stillman School of Business, whose undergraduate program was ranked 57th in the nation in 2008 by Business Week magazine. I welcome you to the school's Fall Integrity and Professionalism Convocation. First, we'll rise for the singing of our national anthem, and will be led in song by the Seton University Chamber Ensemble. After that, we shall sing again, this time our traditional invocation, Seek Ye First, also led by the ensemble. Please feel free to join in.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. Ask and it shall be given unto you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and the door shall be opened unto you. Alleluia, 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 alleluia.
Okay. Please be seated. Isn't it wonderful to applaud a prayer? Thank you so much for your wonderful voices. Your gift of sound centers our spirits, helping us know it's time to pause on the Stillman School core values of integrity and professionalism. Welcome again. It's so wonderful for members of the Stillman School to gather together for time to reflect on our values. Sharing the evening with us is our honored guest and keynote speaker, Mr. Ken Langone, and I shall more formally introduce you to him momentarily. Also on the dais is our colleague, Dr. Henry Amoroso, an associate professor at the Stillman School and CEO of St. Vincent's Hospital. Henry. Henry was instrumental in bringing Mr. Langone to the Stillman School, and we thank him so much for that. Also part of the dais party are Monique Lee and Danielle Zanzolari, who will be making brief presentations as the evening concludes. Danielle and Monique. In the audience are several guests. Mr. Al Smith, the namesake of the former governor of New York State and presidential candidate. Mr. Smith, among his many accomplishments, is also the host of the famed annual Al Smith Dinner, the must-attend event for presidential candidates and all politicos, Mr. Smith. Let me also introduce to you Dr. Robert Grossman is joining us, the Dean of the NYU Medical Center. We also welcome our alumni and friends who join us tonight. Let me also recognize the cornerstone of the Stillman School, the faculty. None of the accomplishments of the school could be achieved, none of them, without their excellence. So now I'd like the Stillman faculty please rise to be acknowledged. I also want to take a moment to thank those who helped make this evening possible. Assistant Dean Lee Animist worked tirelessly on this event with her team of Joanne DeStefano, Pam Dungy, Carol Flynn, and Jennifer O'Sheal, along with Pam Goldman at Invemed to bring this fantastic learning opportunity to fruition. Think about someone with whom you've worked, that in a heartbeat, you'd be ready to work with that person again. It may be somebody at your place of employment. It may be a teammate from a sports team. It may be a colleague from a volunteer project. It may be a fellow classmate with whom you've completed an assignment. It may be anyone from any endeavor in which you have applied yourself. Chances are, if you are ready to work with that person again, it is because they have helped us and carried their share of the assignment. And not only did this person do his or her share, the person did it with a minimum of intervention on your part. Yet the results were brought in correctly and on time, on budget, maybe even under budget, with no emotional toxins and with the utmost in integrity. In short, your preferred work partner is probably someone who embodies our core values of integrity and professionalism. So much of what we do at work relies on the good word of those with whom we work. When others reply to us, "No problem," or "Done," or "I've got you covered," when you approach them on a work task, what your takeaway is that your coworker will indeed do the task at hand. There is no need for follow-ups or check status reports or sending out the gentle reminders. You are liberated from those control and audit functions because the work is getting done. The friction in your work, not just the emotional friction, is greatly reduced because the combined lubricants of integrity and professionalism are moving the work forward with the best ball bearings money can buy. Now put yourself on the receiving end of this work dyad. Are you the one that is eagerly sought after by others for moving the agenda forward? Are you the one that gets a job done without the reminders, whose word is gold? Are you the one who strives to be the very best at one's craft? Are you the one that is a model for integrity and professionalism? This is the journey for every member of the Stillman School. It's the one that we all are on together as we seek to apply integrity and professionalism to our every endeavor. Of course, there may well be times when a project or a task that we're working on where we miss our mark. But all the more reason we spend time together at these convocations to remind ourselves of our calling and to exercise our mindsets to know what we know is the best orientation for any work. So let us recommit ourselves, as we do at every convocation, to our values, making these a part of all that we do. You can do it. We can help. Millions of us have been inspired by these words as we have begun our home improvement projects at the Home Depot. Indeed, the billions of dollars in sweat equity that have accumulated because of the Home Depot is the kind of value that our keynote speaker, Mr. Ken Langone, has brought to each of us and our economy. Mr. Langone, born in New York, comes from a close-knit Italian family. His father was a plumber and his mother a cafeteria worker. And probably, like many of you in this room, he had parents willing to mortgage their home so that their child could go to college. Mr. Langone is a graduate of Bucknell University and then served his country in the U.S. Army. He earned his M.B.A. at New York University. We have a better basketball team than both those schools. Maybe. Mr. Langone first came to the public eye when he secured financing for the IPO of Ross Perot's electronic data systems. Since then, his work in the investment community has enabled him to structure financing for the Home Depot and many more companies. Mr. Langone has served on numerous boards, including those at General Electric and the New York Stock Exchange. His philanthropy is extraordinary, with significant gifts to Bucknell, NYU, and several other charities. His cornerstone beliefs that undergird all business relationships, integrity, ability, and candor, are values that square perfectly with those of the Stillman School. It is my great honor to introduce to you Mr. Ken Langone.
Thank you. I'll get you on a basketball court. Do you mind if I go down there? So I can go. I like to get as close as I can to my audience. And if I do nothing more tonight than dispel the notion of about the mystique of success in business, then I've accomplished my goal. I'm going to tell you things that are so fundamentally simple that you're going to say he's holding back. He's not really telling me the real, what makes it happen. I'm going to tell all of you the three most important things that I know of as a businessman in any business I've ever been involved in. A kind word, a thoughtful gesture, and enthusiasm. If you want to create a great, successful business with staying power, you want to drive towards creating a culture that celebrates effort, excellence, caring, and giving back. From the bottom of my heart, from the day we founded the Home Depot in 1979, our first stores opened in 79, we were actually founded in June of 78. From that very first day, we said our culture will be to motivate people that work not for us, but with us, to do the best they can to achieve levels of excellence and levels of achievement they never dreamed possible. How do you turn people on? How do you turn them on? You turn them on in very simple and fundamental ways. And this goes to integrity. And I'll come back to what's in it for you as a business person. You turn them on by first and foremost respecting them as an individual. By being truthful and honest to them. And believe it or not, part of being truthful and honest is to tell that person that works with you, who, if you will, doesn't have the tickets, that they have a better chance at success in another career in another company. The cruelest thing would be to keep a person with you and then 25 or 30 years later, then tell them, because they've lost all those years where they might have found a spot and been successful. So respect, candor, honesty, never wavering from the basic principles of truth. My dad told me something. I was 16 years old. It's lasted with me all my life. I'm now 73. My father told me, I came home one night, I played basketball, and I was kind of upset by the lack of teamwork on our team, and we lost. And I was sitting there, and he could see I had something on my mind. He didn't ask me. He was too smart to say, "What are you thinking about?" He came over to me, and he said to me, it was this little living room we had. I was sitting on the sofa where you had to get somebody to help you pull you up because the springs had gone through the bottom, and it wasn't easy to get up. You understand that, Bob, don't you? You get some flavor of, you know, what modesty is. Anyway, he came over and he said to me, "I don't want to know what you're thinking about, but I want you to ask yourself one question. Whatever it is you're thinking about, especially if you're thinking of doing something, would you mind if it was on the front page of the newspaper tomorrow?" That, to me, is the most profound test of integrity, of a test in accomplishment, of a test in fairness and honesty. Most successful business people that I know carry that with them. You can mislead some of the people all of the time, and all the people some of the time, but you can't mislead all the people all of the time. It's reality. You all want to go into business, I assume, because this is a business school, and unless Father Monsignor, you grab them for higher callings, I mean, which is okay too. Because if you decide to go into clergy, you better understand business, because we need good business people there as well. But you all aspire to go into business, to make it work, to make it happen. You've got to figure a way out to tap into what I call the human condition in a way that that person feels you'll treat them fairly, you'll be blind to anything but competence and effort and dedication, you'll understand the importance of the pat in the back, the thoughtful gesture, the kind word, and the expression of enthusiasm in the mission as you show it. Do not expect people to be with you, I didn't say to follow you, to be with you unless they feel there's something to be accomplished and you demonstrate it in how you behave, in your passion, in your enthusiasm. Those are all the things I believe if you carry with you. Granted, you need accounting, and you need securities analysis, and you need management tech. You need all the things you're taught. But if all you do is take all of the things you're taught and don't apply them with those three things, trust me, you will not succeed. I'll give you a for instance. I never was in management at the Home Depot. I was one of the three founders. My job was raising the money. And by the way, people, let me assure you, you know and I know times are bad. I will be honest and say to you, I can't recall it being this severe in the 70s, but trust me when I tell you, it was bad. It took me 3 months to go out and raise $200,000 to start the Home Depot. That's how much we started with. Bernie and Arthur had been fired. Pat Farah had just taken bankruptcy. And Bernie and Arthur got fired. Worse than getting fired, the man that fired them, I can only, and I'm being nice tonight because I feel like I'm close to a spiritual happening here. I will only tell you, I won't believe I can go to this. He was a scoundrel. He was a scoundrel. He was a bad person. He fired them for no cause and then proceeded to try to figure a way out to have them put in jail. Because his belief was that if you take somebody on, make sure they can never come back. make sure if they did something wrong, which was not the case here, make sure if they did something wrong, that they would never have a chance to come off the floor and be back at you. A rather cruel, certainly not spiritual-like thought. So these two guys are terrified they're going to be put in jail. Pat Farah had just had this big store in Long Beach, California called Homeco, and he took bankruptcy. So one night, right after he went public, I was asked, what's the real key to success? I said, you really want it? They said, yes. I said, you take a guy whose background is Italian, who's presumed not to have any business in Wall Street. You take two Jews on their way to the slammer, and you take an Irishman that just declared bankruptcy, and you're on your way. That's exactly what we had. It's exactly what we had. But we had passion, we had enthusiasm, and more importantly, and I will pat us on the back, we really wanted it to be a party for everybody that came with us. The single most meaningful statistic that I can think about that matters more to me about Home Depot is we've had more than 2,000 people start as hourly associates, including working in the lot, who've gone on to become multimillionaires. That's capitalism at its best, and that's what it should be all about. But let me tell you a few pointers. People say to me, how would you describe the best store manager? I'll give you a guaranteed test for a successful store manager. After a person is working in that store, there's typically 150, although up here there are more. In the bigger stores, like the high volume stores, you probably got 250 associates. I tell a store manager that if he doesn't know the name of every single person working with him in that store by his first name, without his apron on, after 90 days, he's failed. Why? The single most significant, greatest measure of respect is to acknowledge the existence of a person as the person themselves. Nothing will impress a kid more than that store manager being on the floor. Hey, Jack. Hi, Mary. Jack, it's your wife's new baby. How's the baby doing? You doing okay? There are horror stories in any group of people. All of us get a fair dose. All of us. Nobody's exempt. It's that store manager that makes the effort to know his people. And how does he do that? He only does it by being on the floor all day, every day. The benefits of that? He knows who's doing the job. He knows who's making the effort. He hears the customer's comments. He connects. It's a very simple thing to do. Acknowledge the existence of somebody. Enthusiasm. Show the people what you're doing that you like so much you can't wait to get there. I've been in business 52 years. God is my witness. Every single day I have trouble. I can't wait to get up to go to work. I'll never retire. This morning I started out at 5:30. I'm blessed with a high energy level. I know that, and I take advantage of it. But if you don't love what you're doing, get out. Get out. You're wasting your life, and you're destining yourself to a sentence of misery and unhappiness. I'll tell you one thing about Pop. Pop was a plumber. He was the happiest plumber in the world. More than anything else in the world, he wanted to be the best plumber there ever was. And you know what? He came close. But the more important thing was he did great things. A kind word, A note, one of the things I'm maniacal about, they mentioned my assistant, Pam Goldman. She knows she's in trouble if I don't return all my phone calls or if I don't get all my mail. If you write me a letter, I'll write you a letter back. If I think there's a problem that I think somebody should address, somebody will get a call to talk to that person. Business is all about sweating the details. And it isn't just business. It isn't just business. I had a wonderful event happen this weekend. I'm sorry, Bob, I got to brag. We have studies done. Bob is the dean and CEO of NYU Medical School and Medical Center. He's been there 15 months. I can guarantee you his passion, his enthusiasm, his kindness, his ability to say a nice thing or to pat somebody on the back is incredible. The place is absolutely on fire. It's leadership. But he called me on Saturday afternoon, and by the way, God bless my wife. I'm married to her 52 years. She doesn't mind if I do business 7 days a week, and I do, by the way. I love it. It's great. How much better can it be? I don't think heaven can be any better than going to work every day as far as I'm concerned. He called me on Saturday afternoon to tell me a great event. There's one index that you ask patients in a hospital is, would you recommend? The number last year was 65. We're told that if you can move that thing 3 notches in a year, it's effectively a sea change. We moved it to 75 in 1 year. Who gets the credit? The nurses, the orderlies, the custodial staff. The food is better. The food is more presentable. It's a team effort. If you can motivate people, if you can turn people on and get them to see the greater good in a team, you will win. You will make, because I don't think money is the key, but let's face it. How many people want to get rich in this room? Raise your hand. Okay. Well, the rest of you are probably not telling the truth, okay? But that's okay. I mean, you want to be a priest, they got seminaries here on campus, don't they, Father? You take a vow of poverty. Being rich is okay. It's okay. Trust me, I've been rich and I've been poor. Rich is better. Well, the guy says to me one night, he says, money doesn't buy happiness. I said, try poverty. It doesn't work very well either. Nothing wrong with it. But your net worth is not what you have. Remember this. Your net worth is what good you do with what you have. That's your net worth. Well, I to leave this earth, and I will. And by the way, it's a good idea because could you imagine if people never died, the environmental problems we'd have, my God, nobody would be able to eat. There'd be no place to sleep. It'd be horrible. The oceans would be polluted. God did it. God had his master scheme, and believe me, it's a good one. But I can guarantee you right now, if I didn't acknowledge the obligation that I incur to share my good fortune, not just with treasure, but more importantly with time. And let me explain why. By my father's definition, I am not a charitable person. You say, gee, that's pretty interesting. There's buildings at Bucknell, and there's this place down at NYU Medical Center, and there's this, and there's that, and there's... No, because you know what? I can't recall one thing I've gone without in writing a check. My father told me, he said, Ken, the very first money I ever gave to Bucknell, wasn't a lot, but my wife, we used to go over. Any of you Italians know that everybody goes home on Sunday and the windows are all steamed up from the pasta on the stove, and you sit around and you eat for 3 hours, and then you're like a snake. You go lie down for 3 hours, and then you get up and you eat again, all right? I mean, it's a marathon of eating like you wouldn't believe. But anyway, we used to always go home, the 3 boys, Elaine and I, and this one Sunday, mother was conveyor belt from the kitchen to the table. I mean, all she needed was a big rubber belt to bring it on because it just never stopped. And Elaine said to me, why don't you tell Dad what we did at Bucknell? And I told my father what we had done. And he said to me, he said, have you given anything up? I said, what do you mean have I given anything up? He said, well, are you going to go without anything by giving that money? I said, no, why? No, not at all. He says, then you really haven't given anything away. It's not charity. I can guarantee you the time that I spend on my charities, trust me. I love golf. I'm not very good at it. I love golf. I love to read. You know, I love a good movie. I saw a great one last week, Changeling. Go see it. You see it? Pretty good movie, wasn't it? Huh? Okay. But when I give time, that's a sacrifice. That's a sacrifice. But it's a sacrifice I should make. As good as this great country has been to me, you know, people ask me about the pin. Every morning when I put the pin on, every single morning, I remind myself of how lucky I am that 100 years ago my grandparents said, there's nothing here for us, we're going to America. How blessed I am to live in this magnificent country. And I want to compliment all of you. I think singing the Star Spangled Banner was fabulous. There's nothing wrong with being patriotic, nothing at all. We just have to make sure that what we stand for and the values we have prevail, and that we nurture them, and that we demonstrate it by how we live our life. You know, hypocrites don't do very well in life. I'm assuring all of you, I'm assuring each and every one of you tonight, that the key to what I've accomplished with those 3 things and a desire to reflect, hopefully, not all the time, I'm as human as you are and I do as many bad things as you do, maybe more. But you have to understand that it's one world, and if you want to tap into this enormous force called humanity, you got to do it by example. The great definition of leadership to me is to get people to do things and accomplish things they wouldn't otherwise have done without your encouragement. That's leadership. Leadership is taking people to levels they never thought possible, and along the way sharing it with them. When I speak of integrity, it's simple. Acid test. If I do business with somebody, the day I find out somebody will never do business with me again, I failed. There's something lacking in what I've done. That means I've got to look hard at it and ask, how could I do better? And it's a never-ending process. You're all gifted. You live in a great country. You go to a great school, great programs. The world is your oyster. Bear in mind, Bernie Marcus came from Newark, New Jersey. They lived in a tenement. His father was a carpenter. He had 4 brothers that slept in one room. He went to Rutgers and went to pharmacy school. And then how he got into the hardware business, I'll never know, but that's where I found him in California, in the hardware business. And he built one of the great companies of all time, Home Depot. These are tough times, but trust me when I tell you, I wish I was your age, because out of adversity comes advantage. There will be enormous opportunities for all of you. You'll be better for it. I wish my brethren hadn't created the mess that we're in. And the mess was driven by greed and insincerity. Who's to blame? If you got about 6 months, I can probably come up with 75% of the people. It'll take that long. The rating agencies, the bankers, the politicians, on and on and on and on and on. It's very interesting how history repeats itself. 10 years ago, the politicians were saying to the lenders, why don't you loan these people money? So they did. And they came back and said, Why did you loan them money? They can't afford to pay it back. Now they've just put $25 million in the banks, and the politicians are saying to the banks, loan the money out. So we can come back in 10 years and say, why did you loan them the money? That's where we are. But in that heap of rubble, there are enormous opportunities. Don't lose sight of them. Use your minds. Be creative. Be thoughtful. Kind word, thoughtful gesture, enthusiasm, fairness, integrity not only in what you say, but more importantly in what you do. Honest to God, it works. It works. A little sideshow. You know, some of you may know about my celebrated battle with the erstwhile governor of New York State, Mr. Spitzer. I had the one weapon that he didn't know that he wished he hadn't taken me on. I pay my taxes. I do all my obligations. I had nothing to fear in him going into my background. And he did. I should have gone into his background. I'd have found some things out about him. But I didn't. One more scoundrel. There's an interesting editorial in the Journal today. I commend you to read it. He destroyed careers unfairly. He damaged people irreparably. He deprived young people of careers they would have had. His whole point of view was his own political career. And the day that he got nailed, everybody thought I had a private eye on him. I had the greatest private eye in the world. I had the good Lord. And what happened, he did. Now you say, God doesn't act that way. Well, maybe they're not that way for you, but he did for me. That's all I want. Okay, how about if I take some questions? Because what's on your mind is more important than what's on my mind. Go ahead. None? I'm losing my touch. Oh, right here. You want a mic? Here, I'll give you a mic. Here. Oh. Ask tough ones. They're cheap.
Hi, well, my name is Anya Chikuma. I had a quick question just based off of what you were speaking about. You talked about having, noticing these different opportunities, especially you said that in a time of, a time that we have now, adversity, there's great opportunity. I just had a question on what how would we go about noticing some of these opportunities?
The most obvious ways in the world, first of all, between lucky and smart, I'd rather be lucky. Okay? On the other hand, the harder I've worked, the luckier I've gotten. I think you got to decide what you want to do with your life. I think to have as your goal, I want to get rich or I want to be successful, that's too generic. What is something that'll make you so happy that you can't wait to get up every day to go to it? I mentioned my father as a plumber. Honest to God, he was the happiest guy in the world looking for the next day's work. So, number one, where would I look? I'd look in a place where I know I can be engaged, where I can lock in. I'd also be a realist. I'd ask myself, is there a human want or a human need, or am I creating something that won't have lasting power? The thing we knew about Home Depot when we started was three things. People like value, price. People like help, service. And people like choice, wide assortment. That was it. If you went into a hardware store, and most stores, in fact, people run away from you. Oh, there's a customer, I'm getting away from him. We teach the kids to go after them, to attack the customer, to attack him in a way that the customer says, boy, I'm special. We imparted in the kid basic knowledge. We have called PK classes. All of our associates go to classes on how to do so that when they learn, they can then help the customer. So what I'm saying to you is the beginning has got to be your determination of what's going to really engage you, what's going to turn you on, okay? And then you got to take advantage of your education here and do an analysis and ask yourself, how can I do it? Can I do it better? Can I do it cheaper and better? That's the best of all. And also, have fun. If you're not having fun in your work, quit. Quit. Because eventually you'll fail. Okay? Next one. Yes, sir. Let me get this mic up, sorry. Thank you. Is it on?
Regarding the ethics of Wall Street people, you mentioned the word, greed and insincerity. Mm-hmm. Let me ask one question, an issue raised by one distinguished columnist of Financial Times, John Gepper, regarding the position of Treasury Secretary Paulson. Mm-hmm. Newsweek, by the way, praised him as the American hero, a great man. Mm-hmm. And according to John Gepper, when Treasury Secretary went on TV shows in September 2021 to sell the TOP program, rescue package, he said he was so surprised such things going on in Wall Street, slicing, dicing things, horrible things happen. But he was at the chairman of the CEO and Goldman Sachs for 7 years when this slicing, dicing went on in Wall Street. And John Gepper says his ethical position is questionable. Do you agree?
Well, I believe in full disclosure. I know Mr. Paulson personally. I think until the Lehman Brothers decision, he did a superb job. My personal experience with Mr. Paulson is not very positive. Mr. Paulson served on the board of the New York Stock Exchange with me when the entire board voted to give Mr. Grasso, by the way, that package was over 37 years. And I'm not going to defend Grasso's pay because it was our money. It was not public money. It belonged to the members, all the members. The members elected the board made the decision. And this is not to give substance to that article. On a Wednesday, September the 17th to be exact, so go back 8 days, on September the 9th, 2003, Dick Grasso offered to give the $48 million additional dollars that the exchange owed. He said, I don't want it. Every single person on the board, you're our guy, you're putting the institution ahead of yourself, you're taking a noble stand, we'll never forget it, you're great, you're graceful, blah, blah, blah. Everyone. 8 days later, they fired him. And when I asked, 13 of the 20, when I asked at that meeting, I said, help me out, what are we going to say we fired him for? And there was a pause. To this day, and after that I called Hank Paulson up. I said, Hank, help me out. You're a rational, logical guy. On September the 9th, you're one of the guys saying, hey, you got us off the hook, you're our pal, you're great, you put the in, and now you're asking him for his resignation. What did he do? He never asked us for a nickel. We gave it to him. We should be fired. If somebody did wrong in that transaction, I should have been fired. You should have been fired. Now, having said that, and you can imagine how I feel about people that don't stand by their decisions. I wish I didn't make some decisions I made in my life. But I'm not going to deny I made them. And I'm not going to rationalize it. My belief about Mr. Paulson was he was absolutely superb as Treasury Secretary. The Lehman Brothers decision, which is where the train goes off the track, in the spirit of honesty, if I was in his position, I'd have made the same decision. It's easy for us to look back. The question of ethics in his business career, I know of nothing about I think Goldman Sachs is one of the greatest firms in existence. I have an enormous respect for Goldman Sachs. I have no reason not to. I use them. I give them a lot of business. So it isn't like I want something from them. They want something from me. But the fact of the matter is, I can't think of, look, we all drank the Kool-Aid. All of us. Home Depot benefited by this wave of enormous credit. People got money. People got homes they couldn't afford, and they went to Home Depot, and they got credit cards, not from us, thank God, but from Citicorp, and they walked in and they're buying $15,000 kitchens. We prospered. I can't sit here and say I'm benign. I'm not. So I can tell you this. I never got profession. I never got anywhere near any of it. But I'd be denying the truth if I didn't say Home Depot and Lowe's and people that sold those people things that they got the money from these guys from. We benefited. The music stopped. Musical chairs. Somebody was without a seat. The problem was there were no seats left. Everybody was without a seat. I'm sorry, I gave you the background of Hank and me. I think he's done a superb job as Treasury Secretary. I think the call on Lehman Brothers, easy to look back. My own belief was he made the right decision. I thought at that time. Looking back, I guess there were more interlinks than we realized. Okay? I don't know if I've given you what. Next question. I'm trying to be as candid as I can be, by the way, because I think that's important. Anything else? We're in the back. Oh, they're all back there. All the sharpshooters. And when I used to teach, all the wise guys are always in the back of the room, you know?
Hi, my name's Sean Kennedy.
I'm sorry, you're a what?
My name is Sean.
Hi, Sean. Nice meeting you.
How you doing? Going back to what your father said about making a decision as long as you be comfortable with being on the front page of the paper the next day. Mm-hmm. What, from a management perspective, how did you take it when the whole Robert Nardelli situation was going down with the questions of executive compensation? From your perspective, how did you?
Wonderful. I'm so happy you asked the question. Now, if you read one newspaper, they'll tell you he got $200 million.
I've heard anywhere from 124 to 200 million.
Oh, and I've had him with 400 million too. You want the number?
Sure.
$14 million. Now let me explain. No, okay. You know, let me tell you about the media. I'm so glad you brought up the media. In most cases of most newspapers I know of, their best value is being used for wrapping fish the day after they're printed. Okay? But let me give you the numbers. Mr. Nardelli came to Home Depot and resigned from General Electric. For 28 years of service to GE, he had a variety of options and restricted stock units that were worth approximately $120 million. On top of that, every year, Bob got a cash pay from Home Depot, and he got a bonus, cash. That might add up to $6 or $7 or $8 million a year.
I heard one year he had made, because I did a research project on this last year. He, I'm not sure if it was 2004, 2000, I forgot what it was, but they said he made over $35 million in 1 year.
Right. Now let me tell you how they came to the math.
All right.
Most of that the vast majority of that $35 million was in options that we had given him, okay,
yeah,
that had vesting requirements. In other words, he had to be with the company for so long. Mm-hmm. When we and Bob decided jointly that Bob was better off someplace else, i.e., don't wait 30 years, he was with it. Bob gave us 6 wonderful years. When we said time to part ways, there was no cause. There was no cause. Okay? Mm-hmm. We owed him all of what we owed him from GE. We took those on, plus what we gave him every year for those 6 years. The value of the options, now let's do the math. Where are the accountants? There was an accounting guy in here, right? Called the Black-Scholes model. If I give you an option at $40 for 10 years, that is to buy stock, the Black-Scholes model is approximately I gave you $16, 40%. You ready? All of Mr. Nardelli's options are worthless. They were given in the high 30s and the low 40s. I'm sorry to tell you the stock closed tonight at $20 a share. And there's about a year left or 2 years left on most of his options. The point I'm making is what we did give him was $3.5 million a year. He wasn't fired for cause, so all of his options vested. He got $3.5 million a year for 4 years with two things coming back to us. Non-solicitation, i.e., he couldn't hire anybody from Home Depot, and non-disparagement. We couldn't say anything bad about him, and he couldn't say anything bad about us.
My question wasn't so much about the money, it was more about how it was handled. I know there's a lot of issues about, because it was actually on the front page of the news, which is why it caught my interest when you mentioned your father had said that, about the actual annual stockholders meeting where there was the infamous clock now that was ticking down for 10-second question. I forgot the exact time, but it was a short amount of time for questions. Like, how, from a management perspective, did you perceive that? And,
well, let me tell you, square one. The annual meeting you're talking about was where the directors didn't show up.
Yeah.
You're looking at the guy you want to blame, not Nardelli. Why me? I knew more about Wall Street than he did in the investment community. I should have said when he brought it to the board, he brought that idea to the board and the board approved it.
Really?
I should have said to him, Bob, that's bad stuff, we shouldn't do that. And let me tell you what my miscalculation was. And by the way, in the spirit, again, the priest left. Where'd the priest go? Is there a priest in the house? Hey, come on back. We have these nuns. We have these nuns that come to annual meetings. They represent 15 different organizations. And they get up every 2 minutes and they're talking about what they want. Save the green turtle, I mean, you can't come to the meetings. Come to the meetings. My mistake, was I didn't realize the impact it would have on the serious investors that don't come to annual meetings, but then say, hey, if I'd have gone there, I'd have gotten the same treatment. The clock is a consideration to everybody else. Because you'll get people up there to ask a question that'll make a speech for 2 hours.
Was it also, I don't know if this
well, let's stay where we are. Right. I want to make sure I don't leave anything where you walk and say I ducked the question, because I'm not good at ducking questions. Go ahead.
Was it also, I don't know if it was true or not, I had read it, and again, you can't always believe what you read, but they had said that there were certain questions that wouldn't be answered if it came to that, about the compensation package.
About his pay.
Yeah.
And the answer was very simply, the board made the decision, the board wasn't there, my mistake, and the proxy was very forthright about everything he got in his compensation pay. There was no reason for anybody who could read English not to understand what his pay was. And the media took license with it and said, well, we'll say 200 million, 400 million. Yeah. Now, the fact of the matter is, in my opinion, he earned every single nickel we gave him. You want some for instances?
Sure.
Give you one. We have 2,300 stores. If a store manager wanted to make up an evaluation sheet on his associates, he made one up. We had 152 separate and distinct evaluation forms. So if you got transferred from the Newark store to the Irvine, California store, the guy in California's got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5 the best. The Newark store manager's got A, B, C, D, E, F. A is the worst and F is the best. We had until, how many people use email? Raise your hand. Till 2003, Home Depot couldn't communicate with its stores by email. We sent out a minimum of 200 faxes a day and 2 hours of voicemails. So a store manager who should be on the floor was in his office. The smart ones always read the last fax first because it typically rescinded the first fax that came in that morning. The wheels were coming off. We were in trouble. Why did we hire Nardelli? Because we had serious, serious stress. I can go on and on. Today, if you go to a Home Depot store and say to the store manager, what's your most important tool? He'll take his BlackBerry off his belt. He can tell you what he's in, 50,000 items. He can tell you what he's out of stock. He can tell you where it is. I mean, it's scary that what they have at their hands today. Nardelli drove that. I'm not defending Bob. Look, I was the lead director, effectively the chairman, that had to go to Bob and say, Bob, it's time for us to go separate ways. Did I answer your question?
Absolutely.
Okay. I don't want you to go home and say, boy, that guy's a good ducker. Next question. Next question.
Jay Zolowitz, I had a question. What do you think the best opportunity is for students of our generation to really start businesses and take advantage of the current economic environment?
Be objective about what's out there. One of the biggest heartbreaks I see are the people that retire to Florida, with a woman like to do needlepoint from Minnesota, because, you know, they have long winters in Minnesota, so you sit by the fire and you needlepoint all day. Now that she goes down to North Palm Beach, she opens a needlepoint store and loses all of her savings by the store not working. Number one, be objective. Is there a human need? Is there something that I can do to make something better? Is there something out there that needs to be done that's not being done? But before that, are you going to have fun doing it? Are you going to be excited about it? Enthusiasm. Are you going to be able to get up every day and say, I can't wait to get there? I can tell you right now, believe it or not, right till this past Saturday, I love to walk in Home Depot stores. And I love people to come to me when they see me talking. Can you help me out of this? Let me give you a rule we had at Home Depot. Bernie and I would never walk into a Home Depot store without pushing carts from the parking lot back to the store. Why did we do that? Because if we could show those kids, the lot boys, that we weren't above it, that gave presence to their existence. That gave meaning to their work. That gave importance to what they did. So you got to love what you're doing. And you got to live it every day. And you can't have fog in between your eyes and reality and not understand it ain't going to work. I would argue if you go out and sell fax machines today, you're going to starve. Right? Who the hell uses a fax anymore? I mean, you know. What else? Did I answer your question? Make sure it's something that you know there's promise. Next one. None? Yes, sir.
Last one there. Go ahead. Last one.
Make it tough. These have all been cream puff questions so far. No, you can shoot me. It's all right. And we all got to die sometime, you know. I hope, you know.
Let's say you have a good vision. You have Timothy Finnerty, sir.
How? Hey,
Irishman.
I would have never known it.
Can't tell. It's a great complexion.
Go ahead.
Let's say you have a great vision.
I like your hairdo, by the way.
I'm going for the gray myself.
Guess what? Guess what? It's okay. It works.
It's not coming back.
Never.
Well, God gave some people brains and other people intelligence. Oh, I got backwards. Wait.
Grass doesn't grow on a busy street.
Okay. Never mind. I can't do jokes right now. I'm too nervous.
Go ahead.
Anyway.
You're nervous. Relax.
Okay. God gave some people hair and other people brains. That's the joke. Anyway, if you have the vision, you know you got a great cause, you have a hell of a lot of passion, you don't have the money, and you got good leadership skills, how do you corral up the gang to get it all together in this tough economy when everyone's scattering around?
1979, prime rate was 21.5%. We had horrible stagflation. We had our people in prisons in Iran. Yeah. We were just coming off the after effects of Vietnam. We had enormous problems in industry, huge problems. We had a financial collapse in the stock market. I know what I did. I went around and I knocked on doors, and I got we first said we only want $50,000 minimums. So I happened on a guy by the name of Frank Borman. He was the astronaut. He was running Eastern Airlines. They were going broke, and he was going broke with them. And so he was on the board of a bank down in Miami, and I said, Frank, you got to get in this deal. And by the way, I believed it. My fee I took in stock, and I put $100,000 of my own money into it on top of that. That's all I had, by the way. It wasn't like... And he called me back. He said, I asked him for 50. They said they'd give me 25. I said, I just split the units 2 for 1. You're in for $25,000. How do you do it? Angels, relatives. Friends are treacherous because you can lose friendships over money. Okay? And this is something else. I've made myself a promise. I will argue and fight with people about things, but never about money. I wish I had a nickel every time I was in a deal, and the guy, the other side of the trade was such, I said, you win. I said they would do business with me again. I would never do business with him. I've never been in a deal yet where I couldn't have got more than I did. And yet I'm thrilled that what I left on the table paid such enormous dividends. Look, first of all, you got to be able to elaborate what your idea is. You got to be able to show how it's not some pie in the sky thing, okay? That it's got meaning and that it's got a potential for success. And you got to also show your commitment. You know, that hey, look, if it doesn't work, I don't make anything. All the years I was in the investment banking business, we never took a nickel fee. All the deals we did, I would take, here's what I would do. If I sold $5 million worth of stock at $15 a share, I would have the company I raised the money for give me an option to buy $500,000 worth of stock, 10%, at a 15% premium over what the investors paid. So the investors made 15% on their money before I made anything. And if it didn't work, I made nothing. Okay, so I mean, these are the things that you learn. You kind of have me. I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled that you haven't given up on business. Business is what, I'll give you one last thought. The most underlying need in a democracy is full employment. Jobs. People that have jobs, people that have homes, people that are educating their children have skin in the game. It's when you create such despair among a lot of people, and they say they've got nothing to lose, that democracy's at risk. Cuba, Argentina, go to those countries where people engaged in uprisings. I happen to think that as a capitalist, there is some redeeming value to me in what I do in creating jobs. I remember my father as a plumber, being out of work. It wasn't nice. It was tough. It was stress. My mother worked in a school cafeteria. So I can only tell you that in my opinion, you're on a noble cause. But make sure you bring a lot of people with you to the party to share with you in whatever good success you have. And in the process, remember, if we can create jobs, if we can have an open society where everybody can participate, where all of the opportunities of this great country are available to everybody, democracy will never be stronger, ever. And I commend you to your careers. Work hard. Don't take the last nickel off the table. Be fair. To the extent that you can, be as candid as you can be with people so there's no doubt about where you are or what you stand for. A pat in the back, a kind word, and let people know your excitement, your enthusiasm, your passion, your commitment to what you're doing. Trust me, it's contagious. Thank you for having me. No, really fast. I'm telling you, I need help.
Mr. Langone, if you have a little gift for you, if you come up here.
We are all well aware of the economic softening that is taking place and affecting us students and our communities. However, it is up to us to push through these challenges we face today. Mr. Langone once wrote, "How wonderful it is, this country, that you can be whatever you want to be if you want it to be badly." And he has proven that to us with his own life story, allowing no obstacle to stand in his way. There will always be bumps on the road, but it is up to us to show the advantage we have over others by the teachings we learn from leaders such as Mr. Langone and the teachings of the Stillman School of Business. Everyone here today has the ability to create opportunities, but it's doing them with integrity that sets us apart. Integrity often means hard work, doing the difficult, but doing the right thing. And there are tremendous rewards when we stand up to live a life full of integrity. I hope that all of you here today will leave this auditorium with a better understanding of what sets leaders apart from one another. On behalf of the Stillman School of Business, I'd like to extend our sincere appreciation to Mr. Ken Langone for your informative speech tonight by presenting this small token of our gratitude.
Thank you very much.
The time you dedicated to this event reinforces the importance of living every day with integrity and professionalism. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm sitting over here. Okay.
As we have said, the Stillman School of Business has strong values of integrity and professionalism that we as students have assumed into our culture. As Dean Boroff said before, we work together as a well-oiled machine. But without the collaboration of effort and work from professors, deans, advisors, and students, our culture of integrity and professionalism would not run as smoothly. With that being said, I would like to offer a special thanks to Bill Dalrymple, manager at the local Home Depot in Union, who has donated WD-40 to give to all students here today to help make their lives run a bit more smoothly. For all of you who do not know what WD-40 is, it's a multi-purpose problem solver that cleans, degreases, dissolves adhesives, prevents corrosion, and it penetrates stuck parts like Xavier Hall's tight to open dresser drawers and helps loosen them. Students will also be receiving a keychain with a screen sweeper attached. This can be used to clean your laptop screens, TV screens, or even cell phone screens. These will always look professional. We greatly appreciate Mr. Langone taking the time to speak to us here today. Students, we also thank you for the hard work you put in to make our Stillman culture run smoothly. As you walk out, please remember to pick up your gifts. These are tangible reminders of our core values of integrity and professionalism. Thank you.